Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Priory of the Sacred Flame Mythic Plus guide for Season 2 in the War Within. In the first area, you're gonna be fighting some Marathi footmen that are going to put a shield around themselves, reducing the damage to everyone inside, but if you knock or stun them, now they take increased damage. The Marathi Knights are going to cast Disruptive Shout that does AoE damage and also interrupts if you're casting, so be careful. And they're also going to put nasty 18 seconds long Impale Bleeds on random targets, so be prepared to use defensives and heal those people up. The Sharpshooters are going to do damage to random targets, and they're also going to jump away and drop cold drops. Avoid the traps on the ground as they're going to root you and do yet another bleed on their target. Some of the packs are going to have Devout Priests, which are going to try and cast Greater Heal when targets around them are low. Make sure to interrupt that, the rest of the time they'll be spamming Holy Smites, which are also interruptible. The Fanatical Conjurers are also casters that are going to try and do single target damage with their Fireball, also interruptible. And be careful when they start channeling Flame Strike, big circle on the ground that you need to move out from before it explodes. On the other side, there's also some War Lynxes. They're going to jump to a target and leave a nasty bleed on it. Heal up or CC them if you can. And then you have the Light Spawns. Those Elementals are going to channel Purification, which is a lot of single target damage to the target, and that one is not interruptible. And then once they're about to die, they explode into a big yellow circle that will do a lot of damage to your party, but it will also heal all the mobs that are still inside, so you want to make sure that they're the only ones in that circle once they explode. That first area also features 3 lieutenant mobs. After you kill one of them, you summon one of the mini-bosses that surround the first boss later on. There's no point killing all 3 though, because the last mini-boss is always going to remain next to the first boss and you have to find them together. So you only have to pick 2 of the lieutenants, and the first one is Guard Captain Suleiman. He's going to do a Thunderclap that does AoE damage and slows everybody down, and he's also going to shield slam your tank doing single target damage. You kill him and he summons Surgeon Chainmail. She's going to cast Lingering Strike and jump to a player. When she lands, she puts a nasty bleed on everyone in a small area. Make sure to pre-move and avoid that because the bleed is 18 seconds long, and when she casts her Brutal Smash, make sure to move out of the circle that does a lot of damage and also stuns. If you go to the left, you will find a High Priestess that's going to cast a lot of smites, interrupt as many of those as you can, and beware of her Reflective Shield. This is an absorb that also reflects 70% of the damage back to the attacker. So if your DPS are monkeys, they can easily kill themselves trying to burst through that shield. Killing her summons a mage called Tanner Duomo, who's going to cast a lot of fireballs, interrupt as many of these as you can, but always save an interrupt for their Cinder Blast cast. This one does even more single target damage, stuns the target and leaves a dot on them, so make sure it doesn't go off. They're also gonna be casting Ember Storm, a lot of fire swirlies on the ground for you to avoid and dodge. If you decide to go to the right, you're going to fight Forge Master Damien. He's going to cast the Uninterruptible Heat Wave, which does a lot of AoE damage and slows everybody down for a few seconds, making it hard to dodge all the lava pools that he keeps summoning around him. They do damage on impact and then leave puddles behind. Killing him summons Elena, who is going to try and cast Divine Judgment on your tank, which is not interruptible. It has a bunch of damage and leaves a Dispellable debuff on your tank, increasing their damage taken. And after you dispel that, she's going to channel Holy Radiance for 8 seconds, which is going to do heavy AoE damage to everyone in your party. So be prepared to use defensives and heal up. It is your pick which 2 mini-bosses you want to kill. The third one you're going to have to fight with the first boss and deal with all the abilities that we have already mentioned. For the boss fight itself, you want to focus the boss Captain Dallcry, because the mini-boss that you left alive is going to disappear as soon as you kill him. The boss is going to cast Hurl Spear, which is a frontal red line that you need to avoid, although it's kinda hard to see. And he's also going to target a player with Savage Mauling. He mobilizes them and starts doing a lot of damage to them while gaining an Absorb Shield. You have to break through the shield to stop that mechanic. His tank buster is called Pierce Armor. It does a bunch of damage and it leaves a bleed on the tank, which also stacks. And every now and then he's going to try and cast Battle Cry. Make sure to interrupt that, because if it goes off, it's going to empower the mini-boss that's fighting on his side. On top of all of those mechanics, of course, you have to also manage the mechanics from the mini-boss that you've left alive. The next area introduces Ardent Paladins, which are going to cast Consecration on the ground, move out of the circle as it stays there as a puddle, and be prepared for their Sacred Toe cast, which is uninterruptible and it does heavy AoE damage to everyone around them. There's also Zealous Templars in these pools. They do a lot of single target damage to your tank and then can pop their wings to do even more damage, but this one is purgeable, so take advantage of that if you can. You have to clear the whole cathedral to summon the second boss, Baron Braunpyke. You basically want to stack the whole time. His Hammers of Purity are going to summon hammers from the sky in a small circle, but then they start expanding, so you want to stack them and then run away. His Sacrificial Pyre summons a circle on the ground with orbs around it. You want to get rid of that by walking in, which removes one of the orbs, does AoE damage to everyone, and leaves a dot on the player that's soaked. You have 30 seconds to deal with this mechanic, so you can stagger them a little bit. And then his other mechanic is called Castigator Shield. He's going to target several players, do a bunch of damage at them, and summon big circles that you need to run out from, but you'll be slowed during that time, so keep that in mind. His abilities usually hit up to 3 people, but when he gets to 100% energy, he's going to cast Vindictive Rat. He summons his wings, and now his abilities hit all the players, or in the case of the Sacrificial Pyre, they're now 5 balls that you need to soak. So be prepared for that, and keep in mind there's one more mechanic. He has an interruptible cast called Burning Light. Make sure to interrupt it because it does a lot of AoE damage, it leaves dot on players, and it also heals him. So if it goes off, it's pretty much a wipe. In the last area, you're going to see all the mobs that we have encountered so far. A lot of them, with the addition of the Horizon Mages. Make sure to interrupt their Fireball Volley cast, which does a lot of AoE damage, and the rest of the time they'll be spamming Fireballs, which do single target damage. This area also has a mini-boss right in the middle called Sir Braunpyke. He has a Radiant Flame aura around him that does sticking damage while he's alive to every player in your party, and his Blazing Strike is going to smack your tank and leave a dot on them. And lastly, there are several Horizon Footmans in this area. They do a burst of AoE damage once you kill them, so be careful how many you pull and how you deal with them. After all of that, you get to fight the last boss, Prioress Murrpray. Interrupt as many of her Holy Smites as you can, and beware of the Holy Flame mechanic, which is a big circle on the ground that you need to walk away from. She's also going to buff herself with Inner Fire for 10 seconds, increasing the holy damage that she does by 50% and radiating damage to everyone for the duration. Purify is going to target a player with a beam that is going to chase them. Be careful how you kite it because it leaves puddles behind. And when she casts Blinding Light, make sure to turn away and look away from her unless you want to take a lot of damage and get disoriented for 4 seconds. At 50% health, she jumps upstairs, gets a huge Absorb Shield, and starts radiating damage to everyone in your party. You want to get to her as quickly as possible and burst through the shield to stop the AoE damage. And while the shield is active, she summons ads that run up to the stairs. They're very scary because they do a lot of damage if they melee you. They pulse AoE around them, but they also lose 4% health every second. So slow them down, CC them, AoE them, kite them if you have to, but make sure you don't get meleeed. And if you survive that part, she's going to continue casting the mechanics from phase 1, and you have to manage them on this small platform on top of the cathedral. So, kill the boss, profit, check this channel for more Mythic Plus content in Season 2 of The War Within. I'm gonna see you there. Now get out of here.